right, that counts.
Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to the Power Shift Podcast, or Listen Up for the Louisville Urban League. I am Lyndon Pryor, President and CEO of the Louisville Urban League. Thank you all for joining us here on our quick weekly update. And I'm so excited to be joined by my friend and colleague, Ms. Paris Smith of the Lorain County Urban League. Thank you for joining the pod, Paris.
Of course, I'm excited to be here.
So you all know how we do this. This is just a quick update on things related to the power shift and what's going on. And as we are working to move people to the polls, we want to make sure that we are connecting what is going on in the world to your vote and why that is important. And we are in this interesting space today because we are both participating in the National Urban League's annual conference here in Nashville, Tennessee, hosted by our good brother Clifton Harris and his affiliate, the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, and they are doing a phenomenal job. But we wanted to take this break to come and talk with you all about what is going on here in Nashville, but also why the vote is really important, because the National Urban League is doing their push as well for the vote and making sure that we turn out in November, because it is important. So Paris, what have you seen and heard here at the conference, or things that are going on in Ohio as it relates to the vote, and why is that still so important?
Yeah, I mean, for me, seeing so many people be purged from the voter rolls is going to be the most critical thing. Individuals not recognizing that they might not be registered to vote and need check their registration and get registered to vote before this election in November is super critical.
Yeah, and what's cool is we actually just left a plenary session that had a lot of interesting panelists. So we heard from Jasmine Crockett and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Obviously, our national president, Mark Morial, spoke. We heard from Ben Crump, who is working with the families of Noah Wells and several other young men who have been tragically taken from us, and working for justice for those individuals. But then we had a panel of young people, high school students, and one of your students was on that panel, and he participates with the National Urban League's Youth Advisory Council. Those young people had a whole lot to say. First, tell us a little bit about your student, but also what we were able to hear from them.
Yeah, so Dakarion Wimberly is my shining star, and he just graduated high school, and he is on his way to Morehouse in Atlanta. He's really excited about going to Morehouse. Dakarion is very passionate about civic engagement. Literally, he has gone door to door with our team and registered people to vote. He has participated in early voting activities, and he can't vote yet, right? And so or in the past when he did it, he wasn't even eligible to vote yet, but it's been a passion for him to make sure that people understand how the vote impacts them at a local level.
Yeah, and what was very cool is that, so these four young people, one of their messages for us as an audience, and really for the world, was to go vote, and to see people who do not yet have the opportunity to vote. They have not reached the age where they will be able to vote. Some of them may hit it by the time we hit November, but they are telling us how incredibly important it is for us to go out and use our voice and to use the power of the vote in order to create a world where they can thrive. Because one of the things that they also said is that they got next. They are not waiting for us to get out the way and for us to move over for them to take the reins. They are ready right now. They want to be leaders in this movement. And so how special is it for you to not only have one of your own students in that, but just to be able to see young people ready to step up and take the reins?
Yeah, we have over 400 students at the Youth Leadership Summit at Tennessee State University this week while we're at the National Urban League Conference that are all learning how to develop their own ideas and be leaders in their own space. And I think it's super critical to include them now. The young people said, give us a chance, pass the torch. We're ready to be able to move this country forward, but we need that chance. And we have to really consider, what are they looking at? What changes do they want to make? Because our government impacts everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, I mean, I left the panel just really feeling like, the old saying goes, the kids are okay, right? Like we worry about young people and the future that is ahead of us. And there's certainly a lot going on and a lot that we have to deal with. I know back in Louisville, we've got challenges with our youth that we are working through, and how do we support them? And I'm sure the same is true in Lorain County and other parts of Ohio. But overall, our kids are okay. And what we know is, particularly from the example of those students, is that when we invest in them, when we pay attention to them, when we listen to them, they do better. They thrive, they grow, they learn, they adapt, and then they become really productive members of society. And so that is a message to all of us, those of us who have whatever little bit of power that we do, to use that power to truly invest in the next generation, in the future of our society, because they matter just that much. And that is about voting, right? Like, I don't want to forget that is why we're here, and we're talking about this on the Power Shift podcast, is really about the value of the vote and how we invest in them. It is not just with our time and the energy, because that is absolutely important, but it's also with resources controlled by government, resources controlled by those who are in power. And so who we vote for matters if we really care about what we are going to do for our young people and our youth. I want to transition on that note to some exciting news. And so we've been doing the Power Shift here in Louisville for a little while now. Our goal is to turn out 52,000 plus voters, increase overall voter turnout by at least 3% in the November election. And I've had the opportunity to share this with some of my Urban League colleagues from affiliates across the country. And the good folks up in Ohio said, hey, we like that. We want to do that. And so they are going to be joining the Power Shift movement, and they are going to be pushing the same type of messaging and campaign throughout Ohio to turn out voters there. And so, Paris, can you talk a little bit about why you all decided to join in?
Yeah. So in Ohio, we are extremely blessed to have 7 Urban League affiliates. And through that collective power, we understood if we had the same message to help all of our constituents in every market be able to understand how important it is for us to shift the power. We can talk about the challenges. We all know those. But what we really need to think about right now is, how do we make the difference? How do we make the change? Jennifer Crockett said today that the system has been torn down by those that are in office now, a system that was never made or built for us. And so we could actually thank them and say, thank y'all for tearing us down. Now it's going to be our turn, and we need to take that power to figure out, how do we create a system that will work for all people?
Yeah. So I know, like in Kentucky and in Louisville, you all have a similar problem. So, we had just this last primary election, only 24% of folks showed up to vote. 440,000 people in Jefferson County, Kentucky, stayed home and didn't vote, which is why it's so important that we turn out the vote. We do not have a registration problem. We have a turnout problem. And so we've got to do more to ensure that folks are getting to the polls. What are you all seeing in Ohio, whether it's Lorain County or other parts, in terms of turnout?
No, that is the same thing across the board. So our strategy has been, yes, we're going to register people to vote, but we're trying to get the people who are already registered to be empowered and to understand that this is the time that they have to cast their ballot. In a couple of our elections just this year, people won races by 2 votes, by 11 votes, by 100 votes, to where we had to do recounts, because people was like, we don't trust that recounted again. But we thought, hey, if your neighbor went to vote, we wouldn't be in this situation. If this person went to vote, we wouldn't be here. So I really think that we have to understand it at that level. I also tell people, all it takes is one stadium. So the Brown Stadium holds 67,400 and maybe 32 people. Don't quote me, but it's in that range. Yep. We go to the Browns games every Sunday. The stadium is full, Lyndon. We go to the concert. Y'all had Usher and Chris Brown's concerts out, you know what I'm saying, in the stadiums, and they're full. Thanks. Even in the nosebleed section, it's full. So if we could just get 67,000 people in Ohio, one stadium, to go vote in an election, it will drastically change the outcome.
Absolutely. And that's folks who are already registered, right? Like, so yes, registration is important, and we're going to continue to do that work to make sure that people are registered and that they are registered at the place that they currently live, because that is really important. If you've moved, make sure that you have re-registered at your current location. There are so many people, hundreds of thousands, if not millions across the nation, of people who are already registered to vote. They're good to go. We've just got to get them to show up and turn out. And so another part of this Power Shift campaign is really about messaging, right? Like, because we know that a lot of people stay home because they simply don't believe that their vote matters, or they don't think that things are going to change. And so, I know what we're talking about on, in Kentucky and on the Louisville side, but in Ohio, how do you speak to folks who feel like this isn't connected to anything that I'm going through? What does my vote matter?
Yeah, for me, I really have had to explain it to individuals based on what they're facing. So, for instance, a family of a young adult, they're like, "Hey, Miss Pierce, I'm not voting. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It doesn't impact me." And so we talked about their grandmother who cannot afford her insulin. Literally, she can't afford the insulin. She needs the insulin to live. Right. And so when I made that argument, they said, we didn't understand that the government plays that much of a role in healthcare. Right. And so I really believe that conversation said, even if I'm not voting for myself, I need to go vote for my grandmother because I love her. Right. Yeah. When we're talking about the SNAP and Medicaid changes, yes. I have families coming to me saying, I really need my food stamps. And so we're saying, hey, in order for you to receive food stamp benefits and not have to jump through hoops, you have to have the laws in place to be able to process those applications and to be able to not have strenuous requirements in order for you to have the help and the support that you need.
Right, because those requirements, for those who don't know, those requirements have changed. And so what is it now, 80?
80 hours of either working or volunteering. Now, we know that's a lot of time in 1 month. To be able to commit to. And if you're raising a family or you're going to school, there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration with these changes coming up.
Absolutely. And that's a change that happened because of the administration, right? Like, so it is directly tied to a vote. One of the things we always say is anything that you are concerned about, any worry that you have for you and your family, we can tie it directly to a vote and to an election, right? Like, that is how serious this is. Everything that we care about, whether it be public safety, policing, or police brutality or misconduct, whether it be education and what happens to our kids in schools, whether it be roads, sidewalks, trash pickup, whatever the case may be, healthcare, the whole nine, all of that is tied to votes. And we're going to see some things significantly as a result of this last presidential election and the changes in the big ugly bill. There are going to be some things that start happening in January that are going to be incredibly significant, particularly around healthcare. We're going to start to see hospitals closing and people losing their benefits and all sorts of things because they decided to time it out till just after the midterm elections. And so elections are incredibly important for everybody to pay attention to. Before we hop out of here, what is it that you want people to know about Ohio and the power shift as we move forward?
I want you to know that it starts with you. It literally starts at home. You having a conversation with your brother, with your sister, with your cousin, with the neighbor, somebody in a grocery store, and just saying, hey, I'm pledging to vote in November. Will you pledge too? If it's a girls' night or a girls' day, technically, and everybody's going to go out together to vote, you can make it fun. And in Ohio, we have the privilege of early voting. Every state does not have that. So you have ample time between October and November to go early vote. You don't have to worry about going to the polls and standing in the lines on the day of. We also have the privilege of having absentee ballots that can be literally mailed to your house. You fill them out and you drop them off at you can either mail them in or you can drop them off at your county board of election. So we have to use some of the privilege that we have in Ohio to be able to get our vote in and get it in early.
Absolutely. And so you all are going to learn a lot more about the Power Shift Ohio. Obviously, the Power Shift for Louisville and Kentucky is up and going. You can go and pledge to vote, because that is the thing that we're asking you to do, is to go pledge to vote. Tell us that you are committed to actually showing up to vote. And you can do that if you live in Kentucky. You can do that right now at the Power Shift, thepowershift26.org. You can do that, and soon, here in the very near future, like today or tomorrow, there will be a link for the Power Shift Ohio, and it will be thepowershiftoh.org. And so you'll be able to go there if you live in Ohio to pledge to vote, and to tell the people there in Ohio that they can count on you in November to show up and use your voice. We appreciate you, both from Lorain County and in Louisville, for all those who support the league. We are excited about what is happening here at the National Urban League Conference, and we look forward to getting back to you all so that we can continue this work. We are going to leave here inspired and ready to go. Thank you, Paris, again for joining us.
Thank you, Lyndon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you all, and we'll be out. Peace.
She didn't record any of it. You got to do it all over again.
No, that's not true.
Did you smile enough, Paris?
Yeah. It did?
Or you were listening to it?